Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion after that long weekend. Here we are at Tuesday, starting off the week. And it's interesting to see how we closed out the week. And we talked about the first half of the year and how did we close out the week? Well, we had a nice accelerated move by the Dow that moved up rapidly and then just kind of hung out for the rest of the day and just sort of paused up there, but nonetheless up 150 points. So not such a bad day. Then you look over at the NASDAQ, it just continued to accelerate from the start to the end of the day, and a really nice move to the upside, actually doubling up in terms of percentage. The nice move to the upside, about 0.8%. Actually, the NASDAQ finished up about 116 points. So a really solid performance today. We'll get into what was really moving and what was really pushing the NASDAQ in just a second. But I think it's really important to focus on crude because we're hearing more and more conversations going on about crude, the levels that we are. $75 is where we were on Friday. Silver and gold were a little bit higher, so we were seeing a little bit of the commodities. We saw the S&P actually sprinting to the upside. A really nice performance all across the board. And oh, by the way, volatility, yeah, it's somewhere in the 15s. How about the volumes? Now, this was something that really shocked me. I did not see this coming because during the pandemic, it was much different. But now you'd think we were getting a little bit more like normal and expecting to see a really low volume day. We did not see that at all. 40.8 million contracts trading on Friday going into the long weekend. That's extraordinary for a lot of reasons. A lot of people getting on the road, a lot of people getting away from the markets, a lot of people just getting out and about. And yet we trade nearly 41 million contracts. What was really pumping? Well, I'll tell you what, Apple, 2.7 million contracts. That's pretty amazing. Tesla traded about 2 million contracts. That's extraordinary. AMC about a little bit over 1 million contracts. And then I look over at Virgin Galactic trading almost 1 million contracts as well. So some nice participation from those names, obviously. But when you're talking about 41 million contracts, that's a monstrous day. And going into the long weekend, that makes it that much more impressive, I think, when you're looking at it. So what was moving the NASDAQ so much and why was it rising? Old school tech. What were the names? Apple, Microsoft, Intel, Salesforce, Cisco, Amazon, Google, Oracle. You didn't hear me say all those crazy names with those crazy PEs and everything else. That's old school tech. And we talked about the healthiness of the markets. And what was part of the reason the markets were so healthy was the fact of some of this rotation. So we'll see if this is something that's going to continue. But certainly that was really a driving force going into Friday. The one name, an old school tech name that didn't perform was IBM. And that was all predicated upon the idea that Whitehurst, who a lot of folks thought at some point in time might be taking the helm over at IBM, decided to step down from IBM. And the Red Hat CEO and all the rest of it, it's just really, really sort of an interesting situation. And we saw that stock drop immediately. It plummeted down to about 140 a share from 145, stayed there the majority of the day. And I was just noticing that today, a little bit more pressure on IBM. So how do we look going into today? Well, we come into the day, everything looked very, very flat. The Dow wasn't doing a whole lot of anything, and the NASDAQ was up just a little bit, maybe call it 20, 30 points. And as we started to progress into the day till now, we've watched the Dow literally just go down 100, down 150. Last I looked, it was trading down 250 just a few minutes ago. And yet we still were hanging on to the positive, but just barely for the NASDAQ. It was up about 6 or 8 points the last I looked. So we watched the price of crude, and we were talking about crude in 75. Well, how about crude at 77 overnight last night? That was something to behold. And then started to slip, started to suddenly see 76. Then it got below 75 and a little bit of concern. And if you want to know where energy is today, it's pushing to the downside. There's some nervousness there. And we talk about a lot of those moves and those betas to the upside. Those betas are working to the downside as well. A lot of those names getting absolutely slammed today. Last I looked, I was looking at energy was down over 2%. Now we've had, like I say, 2% moves to the upside. Here we are with this 2% move to the downside. A pretty strong move to the downside. We were just at 6-year highs on crude. And then here we are just starting to slide the way we are. 10-year approaching that 1.4 level. And everybody was concerned about the 10-year and the run, and it was up near that 1.5, and it was starting to move to the upside and all the concerns there. Now you're starting to see concerns because it's moving away from those levels and getting a little bit of a ease or a little bit of a push to the downside. Volatility was in the 15s. I'm not sure exactly where we've moved now, but I wouldn't be surprised if we've moved ourselves into about the 16s. And as we get through the rest of the day, this is just the first hour of the day, we'll see how this all plays out. But certainly pressure on the Dow, and now that's starting to pull a little bit on the NASDAQ. We'll see how long that lasts. So energy, financials, industrials, those are your names that are moving to the downside, materials as well. So a lot of those names that have been so strong in the backbone of this big move that started back in November, those are the names today that are under the most pressure. Early on, it was technology. We had some semiconductors, and we started to see a little bit of a pressure on there. Financials really getting beat up pretty early, and obviously, as we've slid a little bit further, I would imagine that those are the same names that are getting hit to the downside. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. You can go through the list, whether you're talking about banks, you're talking about investment type companies, or whatever, wherever you want to look in the financial world right now. Definitely seeing pressure basically across the board. So got two unusuals. We'll get out of here, and I'll see you on the halftime report today. I'm doing a little bit of a special little tweak for those guys as well. So we'll see. It's just some of the outside of the U.S., I'll say, and what we're seeing in some of that area. But that's to come later on around noon. So NVIDIA, that's number one. Pretty interesting because NVIDIA and some of these names are still in the green and having a pretty nice day. NVIDIA is the first name I want to give you. It was trading about 8.25. Unbelievable move that it's been on in this rocket ship to the upside for NVIDIA. 4,000 of the July 9, yes, that expires on Friday. Here we are, we're already at July 6th, so we're going to be seeing these expire in just a couple of days. The 850 calls, not cheap, $4 all the way up to about $670 at the time that they were buying these with the stock trading at that level. So just always keep that in mind. My second trade that we were seeing that stood out for me early on as well, Amazon. Amazon does not hit on our systems all that often, folks, because look at where the stock, the share price is. Those options are unbelievably expensive. And for a variety of reasons like that, we haven't seen as much of that ever hitting on the unusual. Well, we certainly are today, and it's not small. 10,000 of the July 9, once again, July 9, these expire Friday as well, so very short time frame. We're not going out very far at all. The July 9, the 3,600s, and that's what Amazon was trading 35.77 at the time. So just a little bit out of the money, but some of those prices, how about this? Started off at about $10 and finished up around $39 for these options. So these are not inexpensive, and they've got to work in the next few days, or poof, they are gone. So just always keep that in mind. You want to have knowledge. Our guys, I was working with our guys last week. We had a great webinar. It's really exciting to see everybody getting more and more interested in the derivatives world. And obviously with 41 million contracts trading this past week, gives you a little idea. It just continues to grow and grow and grow. And that's something we're excited about, but you got to have the knowledge so you understand, why did you lose money? Why did you make money? What happened? What were some of the different factors that go into it? All of the different Greeks. I bring this up all the time because I want you to be educated if you want to ever dabble and be involved in the derivatives market. So hopefully you do that and you read books and you try to get as much knowledge as you can so you can understand exactly how things went and why they went good or bad. Folks, have a great day of trading. I'll see you at noon on the halftime report.